World War One, the notorious bloody war that ended with 10 million soldiers killed. What do you think of when you hear World War One? Trenches, Battle of the Somme, patriotic men marching to glory. Well, before they could even make it to the front line, they had to undergo vigorous combat training. It's 19th of January 2015, -3 real feel. 100 years ago, 10,000 soldiers would be waking up in the morning in these tents out here at Happy Valley, ready to train.
During World War I, a number of camps were constructed throughout the United Kingdom in order to train the young men who had enlisted to fight for their country. Among these camps was a long-forgotten part of history of the local area, Shoreham Army Camp. The Shoreham Army Camp was built in and around the area of Buckingham Park. Now most of it is buried beneath the A27 and privately owned farmland. The project of discovering more about the camp and the men who were trained there is crucial to remembering history and the story of the many soldiers that fought for our freedom. We began our initial research in a small area of where the camp used to be. Justin Russell from Archaeology South East was on hand, as well as Luke Barber from the Sussex Archaeology Society to guide us through the process of marking grids and sweeping the area with metal detectors. During the morning of metal detecting, we found construction materials such as nails, a window latch that would have been a part of one of the huts, as well as metal hoops from soldiers' rucksacks, and a button that was later confirmed to be from a South African soldier's uniform, offering us the information that South African soldiers were also based at Shoreham for some time. After finding the interesting artefacts during the metal detecting at Slonk Hill, we decided to look more into the camp itself and some of the soldiers that were based there for training. At first, we visited Worthing Museum and the local library to see if there were any specific details about the camp, but also about the First World War itself. At the museum, we saw some of the posters that would have been placed around Shoreham and Worthing in order to encourage men to volunteer for the army.
As well. But the first thing that struck me was the detail. Now, you found buttons at Slonk Hill, but those were for like shirt buttons or for greatcoat buttons. This is for the distressed tunic here. You can actually see it's got the insignia of the Royal Sussex Regiment on there as well.
This led us to begin thinking about what the locals of Shoreham knew about the First World War and the camp that was based in their local area. We also learnt about the changes that happened to the economy of Shoreham and Brighton by having thousands of soldiers living and spending money there, making it the town that we see today. After learning new information about the camp and the local area surrounding it, we began to conduct interviews with the general public about what they knew, some of which even gave us more information about the history of the local area that we didn't know ourselves. Have you ever heard of the Shoreham Army Camp?
No.
No. Oh,
was that in Buckingham Park?
yes, it was. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've never heard of it.
Ah, yeah.
I think they also had the same during the First World War.
Yeah, it was First World War and Second World War, and it was
Lots of tents.
Yeah, there was thousands of soldiers that came to Shoreham, and it's kind of made the town how it is. Where did you hear of the Shoreham Army Camp?
Local history.
Just local
reading
history.
local history books.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
All I knew was the Green Jackets pub, which was there, which was much further back in Napoleonic times, I think, where the Green Jacket regiments were based there, which was a military regiment. And that's what the pub was called, but that's like 200 years ago. So, but no.
Oh, so are you generally interested in history as a general public, sort of?
We are, yes.
Have you ever heard of the Shoreham Army Camp?
Yeah.
Yeah? Where from? Do you know
Just
where?
locally in the papers and things,
Just locally. Do you know much about it?
Not really, no.
Not really. Are you interested in learning more?
Yeah, because I'm ex-military. I was in the Royal Navy for 22
brilliant.
years.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Are you interested in history then?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Good Child Brothers?
No.
We even visited the church of St Mary de Ora, that would likely have been somewhere that some of the soldiers based at Shoreham may have visited. Whilst there, we found that there was a remembrance plaque for all of the men that volunteered for the war and trained at the Shoreham Army Camp.
I was allowed to roam London at the age of 8, 9 plus, so I became reasonably independent. So when I got to 15, leaving home didn't hurt me as much as it did some. The training was hard, the discipline was hard, but we got used to it. And when we look back on it, I know when I reflected on it, when I went to sea, everything was done for you there, even though you didn't realise it. At the age of 15, 16, you think you're being persecuted, but you're not, you're being taught. Or brainwashed is probably another way of putting it. We were brainwashed into doing the job, because when you go on a ship, you have to become part of a team that works in unison, without any doubt. And that's still the case today. Morale. I think the weather was quite an important one. I served mainly on small ships, destroyers and frigates, and they bounce about a lot, there's no doubt about it. And even the destroyers of today, they are larger, but I'm sure they still bounce about. Because when you consider you get waves of 60 feet high, if you've got to go across those, it's quite a long way down and up to get across the troughs, they call it. So I think morale can be sort of stimulated one way or the other by the weather. And again, morale could be caused by the personnel. I mean, if you got officers who were, let's say, stringent about the way you carried out things, a little too much, that could affect morale. But, you know, you have to accept that because you did as you were told, don't we all? Sport was quite prominent in the Navy. Whenever you stopped anywhere, you'd instantly get, or you would challenge a local team to play you. And it was fun. It boosted their morale, it boosted our morale. And I wasn't in the first football team, but we did play a team in Mexico that included the national goalkeeper. We didn't beat them, but that's not a point. In the period 59 through to 61, I was arranging A, to get married, and B, to buy a house, which was unheard of in those days, I must admit, to have a house in the Navy. All communications was done by mail. Now, can you imagine a solicitor urgently wanting a document signed by me, and I'm out in the Mediterranean or wherever. When the mail came on board, I'd open it up, there's a letter from my wife-to-be, get this signed quick, and it would go back. But that could have taken a week to get to me, and it'd take a week to get back, so urgency didn't come into it, unfortunately. The service of the post was all we got.
The services are very, very good for sport. You can do just about any sport these days in the armed forces. And sport used to be positively encouraged. I mean, every Wednesday, for instance, if you were based ashore, Wednesday afternoon would be a sports afternoon, and you'd go and play whatever sport that you wanted to.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and when you're on board ship, it's very difficult to play sports, obviously, because unless you're on an aircraft carrier where you've got a nice big flat deck, it's a bit difficult to do any real sport. So what you do is a fitness regime, and you do circuit training, weightlifting, exercise bikes, running machines, rowing machines, that sort of stuff, just to keep yourself fit. Because obviously, as a serviceman, it is your duty to keep yourself fit and active. We used to be quite often, we'd have sing-alongs, and we put on productions on board, you know, little playlet type things, called Sod's Operas, where we used to basically take the mickey out of everybody. No one was spared. And that used to be good stuff, because people had to go away and think about it, and we had to improvise with how we were going to put props and all that sort of thing.
I'd say it's hard. I left home at 17, so still quite young.
Yeah.
Left school and pretty much went straight in, so it's hard for me. I did 6 months training at Catterick in North Yorkshire. It included a lot of cold nights. Most of the time we spent out in the woods learning basic survival skills and trying to basically hone in our skills of tracking. The accommodation was 16-man rooms.
Okay.
Pretty cramped, to be honest, always in each other's face.
Yeah.
But it was brand new accommodation and enough showers to go around, which was the main thing.
Yeah.
No rushing. They tried to advise us that we should do sport to keep fit.
Yeah.
Most of the time we did do it, but sometimes sneak off for a little bit of FIFA as well.
Yeah.
Counts as football. So. I'd definitely say for training wise, the weather was a big morale killer for me.
Yeah.
Some people can handle it. I'm quite bad with the cold and wet. And on tour, it just, as you can imagine, every time you go out and something bad happens, kind of puts a bit of a down on the situation. Sports was the main thing.
Yeah.
Obviously when we got to Afghan there wasn't a lot of sporting facilities, so we managed to make a football pitch and a volleyball pitch to pass the time. Tried to do our best to improvise.
Yeah.
We made chessboards, checkers boards. We did get occasionally cards and that sent out, but we get one sandstorm and they're gone, so